What's going on YouTube? It is Adrian Hawkins of HawkFit, and I am back. I know. It's been a while. It's been a couple years since I've put out any content. I just felt that I had to kind of go be internal for a little bit, figure some things out in terms of lifting and sets and rep schemes, and kind of just tinker with some things, see what felt good, what didn't feel good. Basically, what I could learn and then what I could bring back to you guys. As of this current moment, one of the things I'm looking at doing is I am looking at possibly competing in the WNBF Worlds. I'm not sure if that will 100% happen. To qualify for the show, you've got to compete and get a decent placing, so I'm not 100% sure how that'll pan out in this competitive season. But the goal is to at least attempt to qualify for WNBF Worlds 2023 as a pro bodybuilder. Will that happen? I don't know, but I figure at least I can document the journey, the process, what's going on, what's happening, and currently just what I'm doing and what I have been doing in terms of splits, tempo, sets, reps, progression, training split, volume, maybe even some rest. We could take a look at the dieting and nutrition aspect. Could even take a look at some of the COVID training protocols that had occurred, because I obviously haven't filmed anything since COVID. But yeah, if we just take a look at some of what we've got going on in the video, this is basically the training that I've been doing for the last number of weeks, and a lot of the things that I've been doing pretty straightforward. I'd say moderate intensity, minus what you just saw in the chest flies. I did sustain a little bit of a shoulder injury on the right shoulder. Kind of talking to the doctor, it might be like an AC joint issue. Basically any pushing movements, quite pushing forward, like opening a door, bench pressing, push-ups, it irritates the shoulder a little bit. But life hack: if you're ever trying to do a donkey calf and you have a raised platform, just throw the weights on your back. But that being said, back to the injury. It's on and off. Sometimes I feel it, sometimes I don't. Usually towards the end of the week I feel it a little more. That's probably because of life happening. Just a lot of pushing, opening car doors, stuff like that tends to irritate it a little bit. But oddly enough, most of the time, if I'm doing some sort of bicep training where I can keep my tricep underneath my shoulder and or protected it with like the rear delt sort of stabilizing it, there's not too much pain. So for a couple weeks when I was doing some of these movements, doing something like a bi blaster brought some pain, and so I had to completely take out the bi blaster. If you look at the clip, even doing something as simple as a hack squat because the padding put pressure on the shoulder and it was right at the pinch part, and it brought a lot of discomfort, but I was able to kind of somewhat push through it. And especially if I just put my hand on the bar, I was able to do fairly well. But that being said, I was kind of able to make it through, still able to continue training without really missing a reduction in quality of sets or reps. Minus this, you'll see only in the last couple weeks, maybe week or two, was I able to add a low chest fly. Oh yeah, let's see where we're at. We're 12 weeks out, so we're feeling like we don't want to look in the mirror. We're depleted. We're not carb loading. We're feeling pretty flat. Obviously, the lighting is what it is, but you can definitely tell that I'm getting a little lean, but a little depleted. But anyways, like I was saying, you can see that there's a little irritation in my shoulder, and I was kind of rubbing it a little bit. But the fact that I was even able to go back and do that without having any major issues was somewhat nice. And here we got some incline rows. These I've put on and off in my programming, and I threw them back in because I wanted to take a look at them. And if you can really retract and protract the scapula, I do feel that there's a good stretch and a good pull. When I first started doing those, I could probably really only do 35, 40 pounds, and now I've pulled myself up to 80 doing those. So it was a pretty good increase in strength while maintaining form and technique. And same thing with lat raises. Got a little bit of a tight shoulder issue on the right one, but I felt that throwing that out, a couple weeks before your deload is to come, just keep it in. I don't really have too much pain raising the right arm out to the side, but a few weeks ago I did have some pretty good pain or discomfort using that bi-blaster, and so I had to throw it out. And this was actually the first week that I was able to throw it back in the program with little to no discomfort. But you'll see it's obviously the weights are a little bit lower than I'm used to. Good mornings. This is another lift that I probably hadn't done for several years. I took a look at the mechanics and what I was doing. And one of the things I really wanted to focus on during this program was my spinal erectors. So if you're paying attention to the video at all and you're looking at some of the movements I've had thus far, you'll see I've had a good number of spinal erector movements, trying to build that nice, strong, low back, hopefully digging a little bit into the hamstrings, maybe the glutes as well. But one of the things I kind of learned in programming is on hip hinge movements like that is once your butt stops progressing backwards, you should stop bending your back, because then you're just going to get yourself in a bad position, and it's going to put a lot of stress on your lower back. Possible injuries may occur. So slight bend in the knees. Once your butt doesn't go back any further, go ahead and go back up. Range is always something you can work on as you progress. Bicep curls, this was a movement I had to switch out again because of my shoulder. It used to be a straight bar curl with a bi-blaster, but one, I had to change it to an easy bar, and two, I had to take out the bi-blaster just because I had issues with the shoulder joint. Hip thrusts. Again, I hadn't done hip thrusts in a while, but I threw these back in the program just to kind of get some hamstring and glute development. Pro tip, if you don't have a neck trainer, but you have some sort of like heel kickback, just flip it over, put it on your head, and now you can train neck. And that is my hack for the day or the week, or however I end up doing these videos. That's my hack for the time being. That way you could do a 4-way neck. You could do left, right, forward, and backwards. But other than that, I felt, training some neck would be beneficial for kind of presenting yourself in front of the judges with hopefully some well-developed traps, especially if they ask you to hit the crab most muscular, which they certainly, without a doubt, they will. And that's probably, side tangent, that's probably one of the poses that I feel like a lot of competitors struggle with the most, outside of like a lat spread. Once they get that down, then they're fine. Then it becomes like the most muscular, and that ends up being the struggle. Leg press. Interesting, because during this contest prep so far, I've actually been able to maintain my strength throughout most of the dieting that I've done so far. And what's interesting is I've actually hit PRs in the leg press, not overall PRs, but just contest prep PRs, which I think it's a good sign that I've maintained the strength and the muscle even as the weight has come off. And one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing is in the final product, how do I compare to the last time that I competed? Meaning, when I did a show in 2019, if you watch the video that I put up, I believe it was a WNBF show, the Washington State Classic. If you go back and check out that video, how do I look in that show compared to how will I look in this show? Will my weight be the same stepping on stage? Probably not. My expectation or my goal is I will probably be hopefully 6 pounds heavier. I mean, that's super optimistic. 6 pounds heavier. Realistically, maybe 4. But in reality, by the time you get to show day, it'll probably be 2. And that's just because you get so nervous, you get so competitive, just trying to be so lean that you end up doing a little bit extra just to get that little bit of leanness on stage, just to be competitive against a lot of these other pros. And you end up sacrificing some of that muscle for that leanness or for that conditioning. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm trying to take into an account during this contest prep is maybe don't do that. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe getting so crazy lean at the expense of sacrificing your muscle, it might not be worth it. Oh, here's a little novelty. Normally I was doing these on a bar, and I just bought some new little novelty hooks. And so I've been testing these out, and this is my second week using those. So the stimulus is new, but we got to try it out for a few more weeks before we can give our verdict. The ball attachments that I'm using on here, they're supposed to be for like pull-up grips. I also just bought those too. There's a little novelty to them, but so far I will probably never not use them, because the way my triceps feel when I'm doing those in press downs are insane. It is so good. I thoroughly enjoy it. They're totally worth it. I think I bought them on Amazon for like $20. But the way I can feel them when I feel my triceps when I use them, it's phenomenal. That being said, I think what I'll do from here on out is just kind of do a week's worth of filming at the gym, and you'll kind of see how things are going, how things are progressing, and I'll upload it as a like a week's long video, versus doing like a daily video of this is what I was lifting. But that being said, I will have another video for you, and we should have it at 11 weeks. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.